Welcome to the official Warrior podcast from Max. I'm Lisa Ling, a journalist and Warrior superfan.
And I'm Hoon Lee. You may know me as the actor who plays Chao, the friend to everyone, and I'm also a writer on the series.
As your hosts, we've been breaking down every episode of Warrior Season 3 and learning more about how this incredible new season came together through interviews with the creators, cast, and crew. We've also discussed the very real historical events and people that inspired the characters and story of Warrior, including Bruce Lee, whose writings inspired the entire series.
You grammar nerds out there may notice we're speaking in past tense because today we've come to the final episode of Season 3.
No,
and it is going to devastate me.
I am actually devastated. I want more now. It's just been so incredible, and it's been so much fun to talk about it with you, Hoon, and all the brilliant historians, smart and talented people who work on the show. I really don't want it to be over.
I don't want to either, and today we have our last chance. So we're diving into our final episode of Season 3, Episode 10, A Window of Fucking Opportunity, such a delicate title, written by Evan Endicott and Josh Stoddard, our showrunners. Evan and Josh have been around from the beginning of the show, and so it feels fitting to wrap up the season with them as our guests today.
Well, Hoon, I have a confession to make. I binged the series. I got a chance to watch the entire series before it actually dropped in preparation for this podcast. And I got it a couple of days before, but because I had kids in the house and the show's a little bit violent, I had to wait until they went to school, and I just holed up in a room and I watched all 10 hours. And even after the 10th episode, I'm like, I want more.
My God, that is so much. That's so much. Are you all right? Do you need, can I get you something? Do you need Tylenol?
I am all right. I was in my room, like with a curling iron and a hairdryer, pretending they were swords. And I don't know why, when I see these big fight scenes, like I feel compelled to like stand up and start just taking swipes into the air.
I see.
Is
so
that
you
weird?
see an
Is that
action
weird?
sequence and it becomes a call to action.
It does. It really does.
It's true. Yes. Yeah. That's how I wrecked the car after watching John Wick.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, I know that you don't want it to be over. I certainly don't want it to be over. And I just wanted to say that for all of the people who feel the same way as you, that is such a compliment. It's why we do everything we do. It was a pleasure and an honor to work on this season, especially for me being allowed into the writer's room. And I already miss this group of people. As soon as the camera stopped rolling, we start missing each other. You know, hopefully we'll have another shot at it. But if not, it was certainly really special while it lasted.
Well, yes. And on this celebratory note, we want to take a minute to reflect on all that this season has meant to our guests on the podcast.
Yes, we have gathered together a bouquet, if you will, of voices here. So let's take a listen.
The energy that we all bring together in the making of this show, to me, is very Bruce Lee.
Because there's a legacy behind it, because it's correcting like an injustice from Bruce Lee, and you know, I feel personally feel like this show, I am feeling blessed to be part of.
I could be giddy about our whole cast all day.
It's kind of mind-blowing, really.
His success meant that we had a chance at it. Me from Oakland, California, had a chance to do what he did.
I can't tell you how cool it is to like look around the room and everyone's working on a different sequence or training or stretching or, hitting themselves in the face accidentally with a weapon. It really does build a camaraderie.
When I got Warrior, I told Shannon, what's crazy is like, I thanked your dad for getting me through my childhood then, and now I gotta thank him for getting me through my adulthood. It's like this job.
I'm really proud of our show collectively and what we've been through.
He wanted to be able to look across the room at everyone and feel like we're all in this together. He didn't get to experience that in his life, but we get to experience it for him. And I can feel him sort of smiling down on us because of that.
It went from this sort of specific, Bruce Lee didn't get to play, this role, to actually this speaks about all of us.
We want to tell the story, and we want to tell it in a way that is meaningful to us. That is so, I think, empowering for me, and I think it just reaches beyond the television screen.
Spoiler alert time. So if you haven't watched episode 10 yet, you know what to do. Watch it. We'll be here when you're ready.
Episode 10, final episode recap. At the Pendleton house, Eliza discovers Mai Ling sitting in her parlor. Mai Ling gives Eliza a dagger, stating that she can make use of it if her husband's transgressions become too much for her. Eliza seems truly terrified. Bill and a few cops survey the scene at the Banshee and find out that the dead men in Leary's bar are Strickland's henchmen. Bill rushes towards Strickland's house, trying to stop Leary. But Nellie and Atoy arrive at Strickland's house to exact their own revenge first, narrowly beating Leary to the punch.
Evening, Douglas.
Nellie.
Well, you have a lovely home.
Yes. What are you doing in it?
I've had a lot of time to think. About how men like you believe the rules don't apply to them. How sadly the world seems to agree. So, I've decided to take a page out of your book.
You forget I know you, Nellie. And you thought you were posturing. You're no different than the whores you so desperately long to save. A helpless, frightened little girl.
Do I look frightened to you?
Bill and Leary make it to Strickland's house just as Nellie and Atoy, having killed Strickland, make a run for it. Bill decides not to run after them and instead helps Leary burn his body. Mayor Buckley warns Mai Ling about the imminent police raid at the ice factory in Longzhi territory. The raid turns into a huge fight/shootout. Away from the others, Assam hands the counterfeit plates over to Lee in as part of the deal to release Yan Mi. Unaware that Assam struck a deal with police in exchange for Yan Mi's freedom and their future together, Young-jun suspects Mai Ling of informing the police and plans to kill her.
Just call it off. This isn't the right time.
It's the perfect time. She's never been weaker. She diced her own elders for fuck's sake. Her soldiers are defecting. Word on the street is even Li Yong is done with her. If Father June were here, he'd call it a window of fucking opportunity. And I'm taking it. Look, I'm not gonna make you come with us. No one should have to kill their own family. But if there's any part of you that's thinking about trying to save her, I'm gonna stop you right now.
Assam fights a dozen-hop way to stop them from killing Mai Ling, but doesn't take the opportunity to kill Young-jun. Mai Ling barely survives the hop-way attack. Yan Mi waits for Assam at the train station, but Chao arrives instead and urges her to leave without him.
Where's Assam?
I don't know, but I know you need to get on this train.
We had a plan. I'm not getting on without him. I'm gonna go find him.
Listen to me. If he isn't here, he's either dead or he's dead to you. I've been where you are right now. I know what this feels like. But if you leave, you live.
Assam goes to Mai Ling's aid, choosing family over himself and romantic love. Yan Mi leaves San Francisco on a train. Chao is seriously injured, if not left for dead, on the platform. Okay, Hoon.
Yes?
Does Chao survive? I mean, that was a profuse number of stabbings that he took.
Yeah, and for some reason, they wanted to do it for real. Like, they stabbed me a lot. I mean, and it was dull. It hurt.
You loved it.
I do love a good stabbing. What can I say? Does Chao survive? I can neither confirm nor deny. That's sounds like a cop-out, but it's also the truth.
Wait, seriously? You don't know if Chao
seriously don't know.
Is alive or is done?
No, I don't know.
There cannot be Warrior without Chao.
Well, the reality is this. Whenever there's a choice that needs to be made between something that, is dramatically more interesting, we try to take it. That's That's the obligation we have to the story, and that's the obligation we have to the characters, etc. And so when you have a character like Chao that has sort of always presented in the story as somebody who is a little bit Teflon coated, who can sort of weather any storm, then the natural place to take him is to make sure that he's dealt a consequence that maybe he can't handle.
Well, I love that you put it that way.
Thank you.
Because he does seem to be the consummate survivor throughout the series. And as you like to say, he is the friend to everyone and has a role in so many aspects of the show. And I think he can survive a profound number of stabbings. I really do.
You know, it's a sort of vote of confidence in a way, because if you have a character where killing off that character doesn't create any real dramatic ripple, that means that character probably doesn't have any sort of deep connection to the other characters or to the audience. So in some ways, in a very perverse, weird way, it's a little bit of a badge of honor when a character is sort of emotionally significant enough to kill off.
All right, well, let's talk about all these tensions coming to a head. I mean, Nellie and Atoy kill Strickland. Bill and Leary work together to dispose of the body. And it looks like Assam has finally made a choice, and he's choosing love over family. But then we see Yan Mi ride away on that train, and he goes to save Mai Ling. And some crazy fighting for the counterfeit plates at the ice factory go down. It's just gripping. And I wonder how much pressure there is to make the end of the season of Warrior both resolve and leave viewers in an unexpected place. I wonder if you can talk about how that comes together in the writing room. How do you write a season ending to a story that you just don't want to end?
I mean, the way it's always worked for me as a viewer even is you want the characters to end up in a place they've never been, so that you've taken them on this journey from point A to point Z across the season. And so I think that if you've done that with a certain kind of mindfulness and an attention and a sort of dramatic ambition, then the characters are naturally and organically in a place that closes a bunch of doors and opens a bunch of other doors. So I think that that's part of the fun of it, actually. There's always going to be a sense of beginning, middle, and end, I think, to any story. Particularly, I know this is something that, you know, Jonathan and the writing team believe in strongly, that stories do have ends. But I think it's pretty telling that in this third season, I don't think any of us feel like this particular story is done.
Well, and then we see the return of someone.
Yes.
Zing of the Feng Hai, Dustin Wen's character, re-emerges after not having a role in this season at all until the very last one, where he stabs you.
Very, very enthusiastically, let me say.
Very, very.
Dustin's not a weak guy.
No.
No, that was maybe more aggressive than it needed to be. I'm kidding. He's a lovely, lovely person, but he is physically very strong.
It would be miraculous if Chao survives it, but crazier things have happened.
That's true. It is television. Well, now that I've had a moment to gather myself, let's go to our friends that we're talking to today.
Well, it's a pleasure to introduce our guests, Josh Stoddard and Evan Endicott. Josh and Evan have executive produced multiple projects, including Kaleidoscope, Into the Badlands, The Shannara Chronicles, and Betas, and they are executive producers, writers, and showrunners on Warrior.
These guys are truly the glue that holds everything together. They're the engine that makes everything work. As writers, they are where Warrior starts. As showrunners and EPs, they make it all happen. And I cannot overstate the non-stop problem solving that happens on a show like ours. Everything from costumes to stunts to sets to actors to casting to rewrites, massive, endless rewrites as new circumstances arise. So as the people that have to hold the ship together, it feels really fitting to end our season with both of them.
Josh and Evan, thank you so much for joining us on the Warrior Companion podcast. We're so excited to have you here. Now, this is not the first time you two have collaborated, right? How did you come to be involved with Warrior? Evan?
No, we've collaborated many times because we are writing partners. So we are attached at the hip.
Yep.
But we were actually working on another Kung Fu show called Into the Badlands.
With Daniel Wu.
Exactly. And we're enjoying the hell out of that. When we got word that Jonathan Tropper was looking for some writers, he had just completed The Room for season 1, but needed people to write scripts and to help produce the show. And so we met with Jonathan, had a great lunch, So we read the pilot. We thought it was fantastic and that we'd be lucky to be involved. And next thing we knew, we were flying down to Cape Town and producing the show. And then every season after that, we've been in the room, and just our responsibilities have increased as we, got to know the world, the cast, the players. And then this season, we just had the fortunate opportunity to get to take over and run the show. And it was really a dream come true because it's, our favorite project we ever worked on. So it feels like a real privilege.
Far and away. Yeah, absolutely.
Josh, what was it like for you to bring to life something that Bruce Lee had originally envisioned or contrived?
I still pinch myself thinking about it. I remember, going to Bruce Lee HQ and sitting down with Justin and Shannon and Shannon showing the handwritten treatment that he put together for this project. And I immediately left and called my wife and was just like, I cannot believe that I just got to see this. I cannot believe that I got to sit in a room and hold it in my hand and read the characters' names and see how it's evolved. Like it's still crazy for me to think about.
Yeah, and I grew up with a brother who was 10 years older and is like the reason I like any of the culture and things I do. And he was obsessed with just showing me movies when I was way too young for them. So that started with Kung Fu Theater, which was on very late at night. And then that turned into Bruce Lee when he found him. And that was watching VHSs of all the classics, but especially Enter the Dragon, which I probably saw 25 times. So yeah, it was a dream come true for me as well. Just something I didn't know could possibly exist. And then when we got to work on it, it was like mind blowing. And it still is.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining just seeing Bruce Lee's writing on paper and these characters. And
we were surrounded by archives of just all of his journals with his exercise routines handwritten in them, and like how many reps of each he does and how many punches he performs every day, and his philosophies, and just it was crazy. I was instantly back being a 10-year-old kid taking Shotokan karate and obsessing about Bruce Lee, and
it never really goes away. Even this season when we did the table read, Shannon Lee gave us all, hand-typed letters from Bruce on his original stationery. And I took that back to my house that I was renting in Cape Town, and I, put it in a place of prominence. So every day when I woke up, I would see that. And it was just like motivation to keep going and try to do his legacy, do honor to it, because he was just so groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Josh, this season more than the previous, to me, I just really felt Bruce Lee's aura. I mean, certainly in the fighting style and Assam's, so many of his gestures, Leung's fighting style as well. Was that intentional this season?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, Assam's arc is one of, of becoming, of casting aside his arrogance and his self-serving, pride and all of that kind of stuff, and embracing a bigger role, a more honorable, more purpose-driven life and way of being. We saw it a little bit at the end of season 2 during the riots, where he stood up and fought for his community for the first time. And I feel like in this season, we really wanted to start his full maturation into that kind of Bruce Lee archetype, that kind of warrior philosopher that we all worship and love.
Yeah, I just want to say also behind the scenes, I think there was something interesting this season that was really special, which was that we'd been off the air for a couple of years. And when Max brought us back, I think everybody felt a new kind of ownership and a new dedication to the legacy. And I know that when we had our first Zoom with Koji, who we hadn't seen in a couple of years, he had gone so deep in his training, and he showed us this notebook where he'd been breaking down all of Bruce Lee's poses and watching the films again. And he was getting so micro with it. I mean, he was talking to us in that first meeting about how he wanted to carry his body this season. And so I think some of what you're picking up on is also just the dedication of these actors and performers to their craft. They all feel like they want to bring Bruce's spirit back in their performances.
Evan, what was that like to watch? I mean, when I was watching that scene, the very first scene in episode 1, just seeing how closely Andrew Koji mimics Bruce Lee. What was that like to observe?
It's awesome.
Because their body types are so different.
They are. You forget that Koji has what, like 6'2" or something? I don't know. He's nothing like Bruce Lee. It is a real transformation, and Andrew is he's a serious, like dedicated dude. And when you watch the camera start rolling and he starts to embody that and comes to life, it really is like watching some kind of transformation is the only way I can describe it. It's pretty magical. And again, like for us as fans, it transports you back to being 12 years old, seeing those films for the first time. And I think he and Joe Taslim, that first fight where they got to spar together there in the streets in episode 1, it just felt like we shot that early on and it felt like, oh, we're back. Like, this is the show. This is what we do. And we were giddy on set that day.
That was so much fun.
I felt the kind of Bruce Lee magic that I don't think I'd ever seen outside of something that Bruce Lee was actually part of. And it was just sensational. Evan, if I could ask a kind of a process question.
Mm-hmm.
You had worked on a Kung Fu show before. As you're writing scripts, do you just write Kung Fu moment? Or like how does that even work? I mean, the coordination in even writing and then having something realized must be just incredibly challenging.
That was actually something that Into the Badlands really prepared us for, because that was a show where we were taught to really write the fights beat by beat and to tell a story with the fights, right? So it's not just about kicks and, whatever, roundhouse this and, uppercut that. It's like, what is the dynamic shift at play? What is the character turn that's happening in the scene in the moment, and expressing that through action? And Josh and I ended up getting a lot of great training on that job. And they had an incredible action team doing their design, Wu Pin and sort of the team from China. So we've made some of the most incredible action stuff ever. So I feel like we came into Warrior pretty excited to do that. And Jonathan really embraced that too. He really doesn't want you to say Kung Fu moment, we'll figure it out. You really want to tell a story through the fight. And then, of course, Brett Chan, our stunt coordinator, and his team, they come in and they blow it all out and make it 100 times better than you ever imagined in your head. But you're giving them that template of the story, and you're always trying to keep them true to that. You know what I mean? Another element that's really unique to the show is that so few of our actors are doubled. They really learn the choreography. They really train their asses off to do this stuff on screen. So they have a lot of input. That's a really fun part of it, is that you're never handing this thing over to anyone. It's like we're all collaborating 24/7.
And we're very lucky to have a group that wants to do this, but also starting from what Evan and Josh were just talking about, the idea that because I have seen scripts where the stage direction is they fight.
Yeah.
But for them to believe that the fight should convey a story, that it's not just an action, a piece of action or a piece of activity, that goes down to Brett and that goes down to the actors. It's like, this is the story we're telling. We happen to be telling it through this medium. And that's a language that, as much training as the actors do, as accomplished as like Koji and Joe and Jason are, they're actors first and foremost. And so they want to think from that perspective. They want to say, what am I accomplishing plot-wise, emotionally in the arc here, and then bubble that up to the action, right? And it doesn't always happen that way. And I don't think we could have achieved what we have achieved if that perspective wasn't universally shared.
Well, yeah. I mean, as I said, just the complexity involved is astounding, and my hat off to you for being able to put it all together. Josh, as executive producers, how did you all decide to let this guy, Hoon, write an episode?
Well, I mean, Tropper made us do it. We didn't have a choice. If you want the job, Hoon comes with it. No, I mean, if you had a chance to collaborate with Hoon in the past, you know that he's an incredibly thoughtful actor. He goes deep in process, but also is a very empathetic person and has a lot of ideas. He always has ideas, and he always likes to play that game on set where, it's what if? What if we did this? What if this happens? And it's a skill that's native to most writers in writers' rooms, and it was pretty much a no-brainer. I mean, it felt like he would have fit right in with everybody. He had the same kind of passion for the story and the world, and we just like hanging out with him. So it was an easy thing to do in a transition that I think he handled really, really well. You can disagree, Hoon, if you want.
I think you made it sound as annoying as it probably is.
Hardly.
Lots of ideas.
Only you would say that.
So many ideas.
But yeah, just to be clear there too, Hoon was actually in the writer's room throughout, not just writing an episode for us.
Yeah.
And so I think he was a massive value add because part of it is lived experience, part of it is the research and the work that he puts in, which is, second to none. And so actually it was kind of like it felt like you'd been a part of the staff the whole time, maybe just because we knew you so well from production.
I mean, I don't think I could have gotten into a room without this environment, just because knowing, having had history with Jonathan, but also knowing you guys as an actor from season 1 and knowing how you approached things. I've been on sets where you clearly see that door is shut. People are like, that's what you do. This is what I do. And if I feel like it, I may include you in the conversation, which is totally fine. That's an understood relationship. But I felt like this was a group of people, and these two in particular, their only goal is to make the best possible show. They want to make the best possible show. They want to have the best time doing it. And that's a place where you go, okay, this is a place you can really try to work and find something new to bring to the table. And I care about the show very much, and I care about the actors very much, and this sort of idea of like being part of what they would be allowed to do in a season.
Well, Josh, I've heard the actors talking about the community that was built up around Warrior, and that this really feels like a family. Mm-hmm. You shot all 3 seasons in South Africa. What was it like to shoot there, and why South Africa?
I know they were looking at various places, and I just happened to land in Cape Town, and thank goodness we did. It's a beautiful place, a wonderful culture, great crews, and just stone cold professionals. I mean, everybody there knows exactly what they're doing. The sets run seamlessly. And I think it's important, when we are all flying in from all over the place, hauling our families and trying to make a life for ourselves for 6 months in a place that couldn't be much further away from LA and the rest of it as Cape Town is. Like, you hope you've got a family because those bonds form fast and they're intense and it burns bright, and it feels like a very stressful summer camp.
Like arts and crafts hour is intense.
Yes.
Well, speaking of South Africa, Evan, it's interesting because Warrior depicts a kind of apartheid. Is that history something that you even thought about as you were filming in South Africa?
I think less so the first season, and we were just getting our feet wet, and I didn't know much about South Africa, and it was kind of a whirlwind for us. We were just down there for a couple of months. But after that, I did start to think about it, and I started to read about the history of the country. And this 3rd season we were down there was clearly a real reckoning going on as well. There's a lot of public art about apartheid. There's a lot more, I think Cape Townians are really reckoning with it in a way that I hadn't seen previously. And so it was much more top of mind. And, we go shoot on a lot of locations that have a lot of dark history. And it's just present that you're in these rooms where decisions were made about people's freedoms, and you feel it. And our crew all grew up in the shadow of it or during it, and they all have stories that they'll share. And there's this very powerful feeling that we're making something that reclaims these spaces and that takes a strong position against hate and against racism. And in a way, that's a really kind of bright light when you're down there and you are grappling with that stuff, that you're putting something out there with these people who lived through it that really stakes a position that was a horrible thing and that the world could be better and that we have to fight for it. So I thought about it a lot this season. And
you're putting together a show where those same issues are at play.
Exactly. And I think that's maybe why this crew feels so much ownership of it. I mean, Josh hinted at it just now, but it's not just us, the people who create it and come down there. It's like everyone from the construction, the camera department, props. People quit other shows to come back and work on Warrior. They love it. And I think that's because it does speak to something deeper.
That's powerful. That's really powerful that the crew, the local crew, really took the content to heart. Well, Josh, one of the interesting additions to this season was the character of Yan Mi. And in some ways, it feels like of all the women she is the most free. You know, Atoy is staying to fight against the system. Mai Ling is fighting for more power inside of it. But Yan Mi, she has this kind of agency, and she figures out a way to escape it altogether. Tell us about your thoughts in developing this character.
Yeah, Yan Mi was born in the room. You know, we wanted to introduce a new female character. We wanted to do someone from a more modest upbringing, a more common person who wasn't a Tong leader or a madam or any of these things, who was stuck in a system that was bigger and more oppressive than she could possibly imagine, but who saw possibility in Assam's behavior in the riot at the end of season 2 and dared to dream of a different way forward. And I you know, her hand is forced a lot. You know, over the course of this season, she does leave, and she possesses a great deal of agency in fostering those beliefs in herself and taking the steps that she does. But, you know, she doesn't get everything she wants. She leaves Assam and all of that. For me personally, to write her was, what I liked about it was that I felt like we were telling an origin story. Mai Ling, Atoy, they were all Yan Mi in a different time and a different place. And this is where they've elevated themselves to. And I'd like to think that Yan Mi, being possessed of such agency and seeing it through in the darkness of our world, there's a glimmer of hope there that she will have more opportunity than what Mai Ling's been forced into, or Atoy is having to fight against daily. Maybe there is escape, maybe there is hope. And I think it was important to us to have a character that embodied that.
Yeah, Evan, I mean, everyone else kind of keeps getting sucked back into Chinatown, you know, into the Tong drama, into the violence. So why was it meaningful to have this character that is able to escape? And for the most part, she does it on her own terms, even though she leaves Assam behind.
Yeah. We talked a lot in the room about what would she want? What would somebody like her want? What's a possible future given the systemic oppression that she's up against? And our executive producer, Justin Lin, came and talked to the room one day. And I remember, he was talking very powerfully about his own immigrant experience, right? His parents are immigrants. And he was telling us that, under no circumstances would you ever want to go back to China, because that was something we'd sort of pitched as a potential storyline for Yan Mi. And he was talking about how no matter how bad America could be, that the opportunity and the freedoms that people fought and died, and came here for would always trump that. And so it was important to him, and he imparted this to us, that, wanting something outside of Chinatown would mean that there's something, in the country that she hasn't seen yet. And there's still opportunity no matter how restricted and terrible her life has been up until that point. And I think that just really resonated with the room, and it made us see the character in a new way, and that she could be one of the few people to really get out of Chinatown and find, some new America. And it's going to be messy. It's like there's nothing clean about these stories because our history is messy.
There's also this sort of, we see characters that talk about being in San Francisco, coming from China to San Francisco, fearing being deported back to China. And it creates something of an illusion that it's a binary situation. You're either here or you're there. And Yan Mi represents this ability to bust out of that and create her own destiny. She's not choosing either of those things, and that's, that feels very progressive for our show to expand our own world and our own sense of what's out there. And we'd always taken the opportunity to do that, like going to Mexico and these sorts of things. But to have the characters themselves take ownership of that, that really creates a unique perspective for her and a unique lens that isn't really universally shared in that world.
But yet still has this sense of loss because she still leaves her heart behind.
That's right,
yeah.
Some things that keep coming up this season are the ideas of choice and destiny, which Hoon you just mentioned. Is perhaps destiny a more powerful force than agency and autonomy for characters like Assam or Liang or Atoy? Evan?
It's interesting because I think this is a show about agency and choice. I think what we did talk about was Assam having to make a choice this season, right? It's right there in the episodes, but that he's been on this path. He's avoided choosing the things that might be difficult, that might require sacrifice to be a real warrior and not to pursue kind of selfish agendas or be a gangster. And he's got all these conflicting desires, desire to protect his sister, this relationship that he has with his brotherhood, in the Hopway. And then, of course, Yan Mi, who he's in love with. And so I feel like this actually is a show about how you have to fight to become the thing you want to be, and that it's hard. And I think that is also true sort of systemically, that when people have fought for freedom, there's no destiny that says you're going to get there. It requires going out in the streets. It requires getting bloody. It requires losing things you care about. And so that's always been kind of the thing that's driven me when I'm thinking about these characters is it's about their agency, but they're coming up against a system that doesn't want them to have any. And we went to great pains very early in the season. We talked about, that Mai Ling is going to run up against that with the women she befriends, thinking she can sort of cozy up to white San Francisco. And Atoy and Nellie are going to find that when they try to find a life outside of Chinatown and walk away from it. And of course, they run up against Strickland. Leary even finds that, right? Bill finds that. Everyone's going up against a system that actually doesn't want the individual to have agency. And I think we come down as the writers on the side of wanting that for them and staking that claim.
Well, yeah, and that system that also wants to divide the people at the lowest level of the economic rung.
Absolutely. Right. That Leary in some ways maybe has more in common with Assam, right, than he does Buckley. But he doesn't know that.
I want to talk about Lee Young.
We all want to talk about Lee Young.
All the time.
Bring it.
Evan, his role really evolves this season. He certainly has more power than when he first started. So what is his relationship to power?
We take a pretty dim view on the show of unchecked ambition, right? It tends to cost people a lot. Leong is one of those people who kind of goes too far the other way. He keeps refusing the mantle of leader. He keeps thinking he's not the right guy because he actually does have a moral code that some of our other characters don't have. And this is a city that seems to reward ambition to a certain degree.
Well, and he loves smiling at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's a weakness, right? If you want to strive to rule, you have to sort of give up all of these things that make you vulnerable. And he's a guy who is vulnerable and who doesn't think he's right for the job. And I think watching him, because you see what he's capable of, and I hope as a viewer, you want him to take the mantle at some point. We wanted to bring him to a place where he does now have some power. And it didn't come from slitting someone's throat in the night. It didn't come from deception. It came because the people want to follow him. And so that little last, coda at the end of the season is really about seeing his men choose him. And no one chose Mai Ling, she squeaked her way in there through murder, and no one chose Youngjun. He was born into it. And that still feels very relevant to me today, how many people get power, in one of those ways. And here's a guy who's got a more pure take on it.
Evan, is there anything else you'd like to say about where we're leaving our characters at the end of this amazing season?
Yeah, well, first of all, big R.I.P. to Chao, one of my favorite characters. Gonna miss him.
I love being fired on camera. It's always in a public way. That's always great.
I'm glad you volunteered that information because I'm like, okay, this is weird. Should I he can, still survive multiple stabbings.
We'll see.
Well, massive kudos to you and everyone involved with this sensational show, Warrior. Evan and Josh, thank you so much for being part of the podcast today.
Thanks for having us.
It was so fun. Thank you.
Okay, that's it for us. We'd like to thank Evan Endicott and Josh Stoddard, our fearless leaders in this endeavor, for joining us today. And we'd like to thank all of our guests over this series, as well as all of you Warrior fans. It has been so much fun to have and share these conversations with all of you, and it has truly been an honor.
A special thank you to Shannon Lee and the Bruce Lee Foundation, and of course, thank you to Bruce Lee, the man himself, for inspiring so many of us all the time. And Hoon, it's been so much fun to do this with you.
Oh, Lisa Ling, I hope you know what a pleasure this has been to do with you. I've always been a huge fan, and I'm just going to put it out there. I hope we can do this again someday, not too far into the future.
Not too far. Hoon, it's been such a pleasure. I hope we can as well.
In the meantime, FYI, all 3 seasons of Warrior are up on Max. Watch it, rewatch it, tell your friends, tell your relatives, make them watch it, stagger it, space it out, make yourself a popcorn. Stream all episodes of Warrior only on Max. Listen to this podcast on Max and wherever you listen to podcasts.
The official Warrior podcast is a Max podcast produced by the Mashup Americans. It is executive produced by Amy S. Choi and Rebecca Lehrer. Our producers are Sarah Pellegrini and Thomas Liu. Our development producer is Nicole Kelly. Our production manager is Shelby Sandlin. The show is mixed by Pedro Rafael Rosado.